Welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Had a week off last week, but I'm back into it now. And had a few things I want to go through this week. Firstly, trying less hard when foiling. It's a really hard thing to, grasp when you're learning, but doing less lets you make it easier. Second thing I want to go through, testing code foils. It's been super fun playing with that of late, and I'll give you a bit of an update. On what's going on there. A few little breakthroughs I've found with the Flatwater paddle up, and then some tuning equipment stuff, a bit of the KD, Maui, and JB, John Messer, the Nash distributor here in Sydney. I've gone into it pretty detailed, JB especially, but I want to see if there's a few loopholes and sort of discuss that and see if anyone else has found the same thing. So let's start with do less. So when you're learning, I've taught a lot of people to foil lately, and what I've found is as long as you can keep your board flat, the foil is going to do the rest of the work for you. So whether you're towing behind a boat, whether you're e-foiling, whether you're foil driving, whether you're catching waves, whether you're winging, if you keep your board parallel to the water surface, it's going to be easier. And once you keep that board flat, you just relax and let the foil do the work, it's all going to happen for you. The foil's designed to fly and create speed for you. The foil's really efficient too these days. So the more you try to pump or turn or whatever you're trying to do, the more you make it hard on yourself. So do less, which is a really hard thing to tell someone who's trying really hard to learn, but by doing less, you will learn more. And more quickly and understand how things work rather than just trying to muscle it. And that's a bit of a thing for the Flatwater paddle up I'll go through a little bit. Next is testing code foils. So I've mainly used the 850 in the S series, and that's paired with the 75 centimeter mast, a medium fuse, and a 150, call it the AR tail. Basically, I'm loving it. Basically, as soon as you get up to your feet, you feel this instant speed, and I think that's what most people are loving about it. They get up and they have this instant glide speed and slipperiness in terms of like speed slipperiness, not slipperiness in terms of turning. I got a few notes. I'm just trying to read what I wrote. But on top of that, there's a range, so it definitely has speed once you get going. But once you pull off the wave and you're pumping it, like I haven't pumped for as long or as easily on a surf foil as I have in a long time. And I'll put up a little clip to sort of show that. But I was spending, up at Watergoes, I was doing standard 10 minutes on foil, and I actually had a GoPro on my hand, and I was filming the crew that were in our foil camp. And so when someone would get a wave, I'd pump out to them and be able to film their whole wave, and then hopefully pump back out and get the next crew. And rather than sitting there and trying to just sitting there and chatting to the crew, I was actually trying to get them on the waves. So pumping out, calling one to a set and coming back in. And with the 850, a surf wing, I wouldn't normally be able to do that, normally using a much larger foil. So a larger foil would allow me to pump, but I wouldn't be able to surf as well. So it's sort of to me, it's a really good all-round wing. It's the best of both worlds. So to turn harder and surf harder, a smaller one would be epic. But in terms of for a surf foil, I don't think I'd want a larger surf foil personally, because I could get up in really small waves and I could pump around for a very long time. I did 10Ks on foil up at Watergoes one morning before the camp started, just a bit of training for Molokai, and literally just surfing around and around in circles, and it was super fun. It was cool to sort of test myself. It was obviously 3 hours that Oscar, and then I can't remember, the Kiwi guy from Axis just did another one. It was ridiculous, but 30 minutes 10Ks, average like almost 22Ks an hour. Pretty stoked. And then the main thing, I guess, the biggest difference I've found is one, the speed, the pumping, and then the whitewater hits. I'm not sure if it's the shorter mast, because I've really dialed in the 75 mast, but I think it's the connectivity, but also the thinness of the front foil itself. It's really stable in turbulence. So I've said it from the first time I tried it. Did a whitewater hit at Butterbox, and there are no rights to make it on any other foil, but it just felt like it's sat in the whitewater and pivoted and got out of there, whereas most foils, I feel like you get in the whitewater and you have this sort of jump. So whether it's code for magic or the thinness and connectivity of the foil, maybe it's everything together. But anyway, pretty excited for that 850 and everyone else to try that 850 out. That's going to hit shops in June, and there are some demos already available at some shops in Australia, SurfFX, WSS Boards, and the Fall shop / stand-up surf shop over in Fremantle, Perth. So hit them up if you want to try it out. We've also been testing some other stuff, and I'm pretty excited about it, but I can't share too much about it. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet. But I'm excited for you guys to see what we've been testing out. Flatwater paddle ups. So this one's about effort versus technique. And what I've found is too much effort and the technique goes out the window. Too much technique and you've got no effort, and there's this magic sort of ground, a magic middle ground. I feel like it's almost like 70% technique, 30% effort, or maybe 60-40. And basically it's pump finesse rather than paddle brute strength. And so what a lot of people do, I've got my paddle here, what a lot of people do when they paddle is as they increase their power, they really lose all their power and they're actually pulling the water back behind them. Basically their paddle technique goes out the window and they're muscling it. Instead of putting the paddle out in front, they're putting the paddle behind and splashing water up. That's not going to get you up and foiling. And I've always sort of taught that good paddle technique is going to allow you to focus more on your foiling pump or finesse, and that's going to allow you to get up. But I think a lot of people have gone too much on the paddle technique and just sort of paddle and trying to paddle up, which can be done on big foils. But you need this balance of pumping finesse, and like the Jeremy Riggs sort of style flatwater technique stuff is epic. And I think I've sort of tapped into that lately, sort of less brute strength, more finesse. And I've found it's a really good way to work on your technique. So basically, check that out, try it and see how, bolt a big foil on and see how little effort you can use to get up and going. It's a really good way to practice your foiling finesse for the flatwater paddle ups. And I know that's going to convert to downwind paddle ups too, because it's the more finesse and finesse and timing you use and less brute strength, the better. Sort of ties up with the do less, try less hard, let the foil do the work. And then finally, I want to talk about tuning equipment and the KD Maui balance up that a mate of mine, JB, has adopted pretty heavily. I think there's a few loopholes in it. So the general idea is you lift the foil up from the leading edge and you lift it up and the board should be flat. So you generally have to move your mast further back than you would normally be. And I think this works really well for the original, lift your foils, go foil, axis. And then the newer foils, lift and the high aspect Armstrong definitely require a different stance, so a little bit further back. So if our mast was here on the axis, we're standing in front of the mast, whereas on the lift and high aspect Armstrong, we're standing on top of the mast. The problem with the balance up for the lift and Armstrong high aspect stuff is that generally the mast wants to be a long way back. But to paddle up on the lift or Armstrong stuff, you have to have your foot behind the mast to get to be able to generate the lift. And basically, it makes it harder because with the mast further back, you've got to paddle. You have to be quite far forward to paddle, and then you have to shift your foot a long way back to get up and going. And by having to move your foot further back from where your paddle stance is, the paddling balance is, makes it harder to get up and going. So basically, moving the foil to where you're paddling, close to where you're paddling, makes it easier. And it doesn't necessarily make too much of a difference while up on foil, I don't think. I've tried the balance up for the code stuff, which is I'd say it's neutral, but closer to the lift Armstrong stuff than the go foil. And I had it all sort of similar to where I had one of my prototype axis fuses pretty far back. It was towards the back of the box, had my code there, and it was possible to get up, but I moved it forward and it made it way easier to get up. And then once I was up, it didn't make that much of a difference. So basically, play around with that. And has anyone else found that sort of loophole? They've tried the balance up, it doesn't really work. They balanced it up and it felt okay, and then they moved it forward and it felt way better, and there wasn't much disadvantage while up on foil. So let me know if you found anything on that. So that's my Thursday thoughts for this week. It is actually going to be uploaded on Thursday, which is good. Thanks everyone for listening and tuning in, and any questions on any of this, hit us up. And join the Coach Casey Club if you haven't already, if you want to learn more from me and all that sort of stuff. But lots of exciting things coming up. Tune in then.